Will Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals win their fourth straight game and beat the Buffalo Bills tonight? Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien, and happy game day. Welcome into Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell as we inch ever so close to 40,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. And yes, we will be at Paycor Stadium for tonight's matchup, but I wanted to get the game day report out early enough to beat those 1 o'clock games and kind of set the stage for what is going to be a huge, huge matchup. It really starts with getting an AFC win. The Bengals need to get some AFC wins. There's so many teams. They're only one game behind the first place seed in the AFC. And yet, if the playoffs started today, the Bengals wouldn't be in them. They would be, I believe it's the 9th seed, but the first 7 seeds obviously get in. The point is they lose a lot of tiebreakers right now. And I know it's early in the season, it's still midway through all those things. The significance of this game is huge. One, the Bills are probably going to be in the mix for one of those top seeds, of course, and be a division leader and all of those things. Two, you want to win that tiebreaker and you want to win tiebreakers against some of these other AFC teams. Well, it's got to start with racking up some AFC wins. And the next 3 games, including tonight, of course, are against AFC opponents. You got the Bills. Next week, it's the Texans. And then it's a very short week, Thursday Night Football against the Ravens. Something I'll pay attention to and something the Bills did on Saturday, but throughout the week, they addressed their defense. Now, they signed Josh Norman a few weeks ago, the former Pro Bowl cornerback, to their practice squad. They elevated him from the practice squad on Saturday. They traded for Rasul Douglas, who I expect to be active tonight. And then they signed a defensive tackle, Linval Joseph, and we'll see about him. I'm not totally sure one way or the other, but it is interesting that the Bills have made multiple moves defensively to try to address this defense that is banged up, that is, I don't even want to say struggling necessarily, but they're clearly beatable. And that's where I look at this game, and I think a lot of people haven't said this Bengals offense should be able to move the ball. I expect this Bengals offense to have a good game tonight. It obviously starts with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Mixon is someone that people are eyeing, especially with the way the Bills have struggled against the run. That's probably why they go out and get a Linval Joseph. And so I could see him being active today. Maybe he doesn't play his full allotment of snaps, but maybe he gives them 8 to 10 quality snaps in the middle of that defense. We'll see. But I do think it's interesting that the Bills, they're trying to piece together their defense a bit. And that's why, to me, this offense, led by Joe Burrow, obviously Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins, who to me is healthier and healthier with every day that passes following that fractured rib. Tyler Boyd, all of those guys, I expect big games out of them. I expect this passing game to get going, and obviously Joe Mixon to have holes to run through. What I think is interesting, though, is the Tanner Hudson impact. I'm not sure he'll start tonight, but I think he's going to be a prominent figure in this Bengals passing attack and be someone that Joe Burrow not only trusts, but relies on. And they don't need a lot from tight end. Everyone's talking about Hayden Hurst before the deadline and CJ Uzama before that, a couple of years ago. Those guys weren't primary targets on offense, but they were there when Joe needed them. And so whether it is Irv Smith Jr., whether it's any of these other guys, any of these other tight ends, Tanner Hudson, etc., that's certainly something to watch tonight. The other thing, Stanley Morgan Jr. was elevated from the Bengals practice squad on Saturday, giving them another receiver. He's primarily a special teamer and will slide into that Tyson Anderson special team role, with Anderson, unfortunately, on injured reserve with a torn ACL. But that means only 3 safeties. So something to watch. Dax Hill, Nick Scott, Jordan Battle, those are the only safeties that'll be active or on the roster, but certainly active tonight. And the other element of that, of Stanley Morgan Jr. being active and being elevated from the practice squad, maybe they use him in some obvious run blocking situations. He is a quality blocker. Last week, there were some issues with wide receivers blocking on the edge, whether it was for Jamar Chase or just trying to get some of these weapons in space. So maybe they lean on Stanley Morgan Jr. They did that last year and the year prior. He's been on the practice squad, hasn't been active for a game yet this season, but he will be active tonight against the Bills. I expect this game to be fireworks show. I think the Bills are really motivated. Their offense should be able to produce and probably work in some big plays. I think Dalton Kincaid is a big part of that. Dax Hill wasn't on George Kittle much last week. I would expect Dax Hill to draw more of a matchup against opposing tight ends this week. And the last thing you want to do is let Kincaid get going, because that would open things up or make life easier, certainly, on Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis, any of their other weapons. James Cook out of the backfield, who I think is underrated as a pass catcher out of the backfield at running back. So this is going to be a really, really fun matchup, and we're going to be covering it all day long at allbengals.com. If there's anything breaking, anything new, any news, developments, we have you covered. And then after the game, of course, we have you covered right here on CBT. You're going to hear from Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, any other noteworthy figures that have an impact on tonight's game. You better believe CBT is going to have you covered. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. And if you're looking for more Bengals coverage, make sure you check out Elise Jesse's interview with Dak Notestein, Joe Burrow's trainer. It was really, really good stuff. Quality editing by Andrew as well. Gives you some insight, some in-depth conversation about QB1. For Andrew Fox Miller, our channel coordinator, I'm James Rapien. We will see you after the game right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.